Batman's greatest enemies will get their chance at revenge.
Arkham Asylum remains under lockdown. Its staff at the mercy of the rampaging inmates.
All right. What? You don't dress up for work either? Okay, sure. Welcome back to Retro Rebound. In today's video, we're going back to the goated Batman video game series known as Arkham. Ladies and gentlemen, it has been a hot minute since I've replayed Batman Arkham Asylum, but here we are today to discuss one of my very favorite superhero video games of all time, and truly a turning point in our industry on what a superhero game can be. Now, I felt like I needed to do this because this week we have the release of Gotham Knights, a highly anticipated, highly concerning for some, co-op Batman-focused game, or Batman universe game, I'm sorry, because the Batman's dead apparently in Gotham Knights. Now, all of the conversation surrounding this game, while I've been rooting for Warner Bros. Montreal, has been mostly negative, from recently 30 FPS to people crying that what is Rocksteady up to, where's the Suicide Squad game, no one can do it as great as them. I like Gotham Knights as a vision, and I am going to pick it up and play it. I could not get a review copy for the game, unfortunately, because they were really tight-lipped about that one. So here we are today to talk about the Arkham series and why I think it's really special, beginning with Arkham Asylum, asking the question that I think is very important in context with a brand new superhero release in the Batman universe. Is Arkham Asylum really that good? Is it really as good as we remembered? I will answer that question in today's video, but ultimately the decision is up to you because it is the voice of the people that I champion. So with that, ladies and gentlemen, if you're new here, you're into nostalgic and retrospective content, consider subscribing. Now, let's begin with Batman Arkham Asylum on PS3 in the complete in-box experience. This was the version to have. Have you ever bought a console for a really stupid reason? Let me tell you a famous Matty tale. Bought my PS3, you know, the Sony Spider-Man font across the top of the console, that old PS3. Bought that one, played Sonic 06, somehow loved it. Then moved on over to the 360, trading in my PS3 for the social element known as Xbox Live. And that was a very important thing for me. But then a buddy of mine randomly picked up a PS3, the slim version, and it was with this game. I played it over at his house, and I bought the PS3 and became a PlayStation guy for a really long while because I loved the trophy metagame. But it was because of this game, which I already played over on the 360. I don't know. It was during a time when I was younger and I wanted to be safer with my purchases that the trophy achievement metagame really propelled me to double dip a lot. Like, I'd go get a platinum, then pick it up on 360, get the achievements, and it would be like a fresh new experience. I love that. But that was my reason for buying a PS3 again, was for a game I already experienced. So that was stupid enough, but what's not stupid is the back of the box and PlayStation's decision to get exclusive challenge maps with the Joker. That was also very smart. But here is the back of the box saying, "Welcome to the Madhouse." Descend into the core of the criminally insane as the Joker launches his most diabolical plot ever. The inmates of Arkham Asylum have been set free, and it's up to Batman to bring order to the chaos and take back the asylum. Explore the depths of this never-before-seen island as you experience the darkest journey of the Batman's life, written by Paul Dini and featuring the voice talents of Mark Hamill and Kevin Conroy, which you all know if you've watched this channel in our Batman retrospective. When I sat down and talked about Batman Vengeance, those voices were in there. They add so much to the Batman experience. Truly one of gaming's greatest duos, even though we know Mark Hamill for many other things. But those two, when they're together, mwah, beautiful. The back also says, play as Joker challenge maps available only on the PlayStation 3 computer entertainment system. Confront Gotham City's most notorious lunatics, including the Joker, Harley Quinn, Bane, Poison Ivy, and Killer Croc. Utilize Batman's detective skills and cutting-edge forensic tech to gather evidence and clues. And unleash brutal combos with the innovative free-flow combat system. Cracking it open, this is a beautiful complete in-box experience, but also a very unique one, as you'll see here. Beneath the manual is how you access the exclusive PS3 content, including a Batcave outpost for PlayStation Home. Remember that? I never used it, but I'm sure that was a common story for all of us. Behind the scenes exclusive here for a little bit of a mini documentary. It actually has all the people I mentioned on the back, like Kevin Conroy, Paul Dini, etc. And it says Arkham Asylum trailers in Blu-ray quality. That was a big selling point for the PS3 during this gen, was Blu-ray stuff. That's why you'd get everything on one disc. And I was totally for that, by the way. You remember this? Hold on. Let's break this one out from our old GameStop video. You remember this? This is what you avoided. All these copies of the game. 5 discs, not a problem on PS3. It was 1. I think it was 2 for the Mass Effect trilogy, but I think it was 1 and 2 on disc 1 and then 3 on disc. No, maybe it was 3 discs. Okay, I'm gonna spare you all. Let's keep going. I think it was 3 discs, but anyway. This manual, it's not that great. For as great as the game is, it's black and white. It goes over simple things like the introduction, the seemingly random attack by the Joker at the mayor's office. Batman is returning his greatest nemesis to Arkham Asylum, but the Joker has an escape plan, and it's only the beginning. By the time the sun rises over Gotham, he will have turned Arkham Island into his twisted playground and broken the Dark Knight himself. Can even Batman survive a night locked up with all of Gotham's freaks and madmen? And it goes through here all the controls, which are very important given free flow, but perhaps the most defining quality to me in this game outside of free flow is the detective mode. They walk you through some of that, saying you can activate it by pressing L2, and it's how you access, pieces of evidence in the environment and begin tracking down where you need to go next in the game. There's environmental analysis, which ties into the Riddler challenges littered all throughout the map. Character bios that you can get primarily through exploring the game, talking to certain characters, and also completing those Riddler trophies. And then a little exclusive page here for how you play as the Joker. But otherwise, a really, really simple manual here. But what's not simple is this very complex video game. So let's not delay any further. Let's talk about why, yes, it's really that good. I will say, in a post Arkham Knight and post Arkham City and post Arkham Origins world, that the opening moments of Arkham Asylum can comparatively feel slower. I love the steady build-up as you're walking the Joker through the asylum. You're seeing just how deep, by the way, they are taking him. Like, they want to seal him off. It's very subtly conveyed, in my opinion. It's not the real focus of the scene, but if you're just looking around, you're realizing we're going down another level and another level and another level. And behind all the security and all this security, like, they want to lock him away for good. But what's kind of scratching in the back of your head while this ominous soundtrack plays in the background is the Joker came in without much of a fight. There's a moment of suspense built where the lights go out, and when they come back on, you see Batman like holding Joker, I think by his jaw. Wasn't his neck, but by his jaw. And the Joker kind of antagonizes him. You know, it plays on the classic Joker-Batman relationship we're all familiar with, but here you feel the stakes have been risen. Not just financially and budget-wise, because this is a true AAA video game, but it feels like there's a lot more tension in the air. There's a lot more suspicion in the air. Why did the Joker surrender? Why did he want to come to Arkham Asylum? And eventually, we learn why that's the case. But I understand as I went through it more, I've seen more people become critical of Arkham Asylum. And yeah, once you finally get out of the asylum, if you will, you're still on Arkham Island, but once you get out of the asylum itself and you're in that open area, you get to see Gotham in the backdrop and you wonder what could be, which eventually in the next game does answer in its own unique way, which I love how they set up the sequel in this game. But I love this vista too, speaking of things I love. When you step out of the asylum, that slow rotation, that slow pan of the camera I did as you just take it all in. It's the art style, it's so dark. It's got high contrast. It's beautiful. I really love how they tone the colors in this. Now, admittedly, I did play, this what you're watching is the PS4 version running on a PS5 in the Return to Arkham collection, but still, it takes nothing away from it. This is an absolute looker at its time, and it's a game that when I played it for the first time, I felt it was very next gen, is how I would define it. Very next generation. What do I mean by that? It's little things like when you walk down into the area where the Joker escapes and you fight all the baddies for the first time, and it's your first taste of free flow combat. And when you transition to the next scene in the game, there's no load screen, no fade to black. It's just, you look to the left and you see a TV active and the Joker's on it and he's got someone important. You're thinking, oh, whoa, okay. There was no break in the action there. And immediately you're on the run it's such a high quality game, in my opinion. Such an impressive video game, especially for its time. And I think that was one of the reasons. There was never a real hard transition. You would have the rare loading screen when you went from one area to the next. They would fade that to black. But when it came from gameplay moment to gameplay moment to gameplay moment, especially in the opening sections of the game, it was just on one seamless strand. And I really, really liked that. The level design, I don't think has aged as well. That's where I started to feel a bit more confined. Again, this is where the comparisons to newer Arkham games work against it. Things were much more wide open in, say, Arkham Knight, where you could really do some stealth takedowns from afar. There were much more tools in your tool set, although at some point I would argue when it came to free flow combat and everyone's very specific weaknesses, perhaps too many, but that's a good problem to have in the scheme of things. But back to the stealth gameplay, this is where I felt kind of limited, and it felt really weird too, just these random gargoyles perched up in particular sides of the walls here in Arkham Asylum. It was, as I went on, a little more artistically out of place compared to everything else, but it's a video game. I think at a certain point, when we look at video game as an art, we have to have a hard cutoff, like a line in the sand moment where we go, okay, this is where I accept it's a game and this is where I accept it's art and storytelling. I think you just got to accept that there's going to be 1,000,001 gargoyles around places that don't make much sense because, you know, you need to do stealth gameplay. You're Batman. You're going to take enemies out from the shadows. So it was something I did recognize going back to it, but I feel like I'd be almost nitpicking and missing the point of a video game being a fun video game. Now, I loved especially the free flow combat. I don't know anyone who doesn't like free flow combat. I have one friend who's found this game boring because he played Shadow of Mordor first, and I think that's such a tragedy. I love Shadow of Mordor. I got the platinum trophy in it, so don't think I'm slandering it, but like I just think the Batman Arkham series is so good, and free flow combat's one of the core reasons why. When this was introduced, the feeling of badassery that coursed through your bat suit, in my case, all of your veins, as you flip from one enemy to the next, to a little counter, to a double counter where you take out two enemies, then you use your batarang, then you use a ground takedown, and you do a throw, and you see the moveset gradually expand over time. Oh man, this game made you really feel like a superhero. Especially the cinematics when you got the final blow and you saw it go into slow-mo, they pulled the camera in. It kind of reminded me of the VATS camera in Fallout where it just sometimes breaks and you just go, ah man, that's a shame. But when it works and you get that slow-mo, you see just Batman's thunder thighs coming in, and, oh, I'm about to blow this sucker's head off. You see him connect and the guy grabs his head like this and down he goes in slow-mo. I love that stuff. In a way, it almost felt like the origins of the X-ray camera that you'd see in Mortal Kombat, especially in like the latest Mortal Kombat, where when you're fighting enemies, if you hit a particular move, it just briefly zooms in and you just see the, oh, slow motion as like a bone breaks. I feel like this was the beginning of that. So free flow combat, I know it goes without saying what hasn't been said about free flow combat, but to me, like that is what really put this series on another level, because before this, you would have superhero games that were good, but they were in this very particular pocket of, oh, that's kind of surprising. This was good. Wow. Oh, but it's like a movie tie-in, so it doesn't really take it up a notch. To me, Arkham Asylum should forever be in the video game Hall of Fame or whatever you want to call it because of the risk it took to go all in, high budget, high fidelity, on a superhero game. It's a common thing now where everyone's going, oh, I'm sick of Marvel, I'm sick of DC. Yeah, because now people are doing it right. And because more people are doing it right, everyone's throwing their hat into the ring, and a lot of people are doing it wrong. But make no mistake, there were great superhero games before that. We've talked about many of them on the channel. This was the beginning of a new era. It absolutely was, and they paved the way. And there was a lot of copycats and following around where I remember the Amazing Spider-Man games. Everyone tried to do the free flow system, but no one had the actual flow like Arkham Asylum did. No one. And again, I just need to emphasize that. What else did they get right? Well, it's not just that the gameplay systems were fun and the atmosphere and fidelity was fantastic. To me, it's also that they captured the side of the bat that we don't talk about much. I think every great superhero has duality, right? So when you think about Spider-Man. You have Peter Parker and you have Spider-Man. And you live these two different lives in the Insomniac games. When you have Batman, you have Bruce Wayne and you have the Batman. Now, there isn't much Bruce Wayne action, but in this game, you get the two sides of the bat that I think are honestly more important, being the action Batman with free flow, and then the Batman, the detective, the one who investigates the scene, puts the crime together and figures out what happens. You see, this likely in the design phase of this game stemmed from them thinking, how do we bring the player from point A to point B without intrusive HUD? So when you're running around Arkham Island, there's never going to be a waypoint that says, go here, it's 100 meters away. As they opened things up and went to an open world, I understand why they went in that direction, but Arkham Island does not have that. You can pause the game, open the map, and see where your waypoint is, where you need to go next, and that's fine. But what they typically did was had Batman activate his detective mode. Oh, this is ash from Gordon's pipe, and you see like there's a nicotine sample in it. Okay, and we're gonna track the smoke sample through the air, and that serves as a waypoint in the same way you think of like Horizon Zero Dawn or Forbidden West, where you turn on that little mode, I forgot what it's called, but where you like activate this purple HUD and you can see like footsteps on the ground, you follow them in a natural way. Or in The Witcher 3, you use your Witcher senses to track footsteps. This was, again, sort of the beginning of something quite like that, where you're just tracking evidence in the air and it's gradually leading you to your next objective. I do think it felt a little weird sometimes having like the X-ray vision on as you're running around the world. It took away a bit from the fantastic art direction of the game because you're seeing it all in like inverse colors. But I just really love how they captured the detective side. And especially when you go to something like Arkham Origins years down the line, I thought they really kicked the door open with the seeing the crime scene, watching it play out. I know it does bring up the awkward conversation of where was that versus here in Arkham Asylum. I get it. It's fair. But that capturing of the detective side of Batman was, I think, really integral to this game's success, as well as the gadgets. It's funny because I remember before the Insomniac Spider-Man games came around, one thing I always said was you needed to get the Peter Parker nerd part right because he made gadgets and he would provide all these different tools to every fight, right? And what's funny is this game got it just right. What happens throughout the entirety of Arkham Asylum? More and more and more gadgets are dropped in for you. You get the Batarang, of course you begin with that, but then you get your explosive gel and so on and so forth. And they start to build this almost Metroidvania quality in the game where you go back to different parts of the island and you start searching for walls that you can blow down, Riddler trophies you maybe missed. I just love that element in games. I really love the retroactive design where you can go back to a certain area and make use of an object that you didn't previously have, and it opens up this whole new world. It's incredibly rewarding exploration to me. And at the heartbeat of that is none other than the Riddler trophies, which just seemed like this random experiment that worked out flawlessly as it played almost a Batman trivia game with you. Now, sometimes it was just finding like the spray paint of the top of a question mark and the dot, lining it up, holding your left trigger or L1, and you'd scan the environment and go like, boom, you got it, nice. That's your Riddler trophy there. But sometimes it would be a riddle saying, I could hardly believe it. And you'd find like Jack Hardy on the radio, I think is his name. And you would scan the radio and it would almost call attention to Easter eggs in this very natural way. I remember I got almost all of the Riddler trophies, but I was stubborn when I was younger and I didn't get all of them because I wanted to find them on my own. Or I had to look for the remaining, I think it was the remaining Joker teeth. That might have been it. These were at the heart of all the unlockables. You'd find other unlockables throughout the map. You'd find, interview tapes, character bios from people you've communicated with. So just this combination of free flow, detective gameplay, stealth, a sense of fidelity, a sense of budget and belief, and then the Riddler trophy, it all came together to make what was a transformative superhero experience. And you combine that with, underneath it all, a wonderful score that captures the feeling of Batman from the movies, which we all were pretty familiar with at that time. And it felt like Batman finally got his due. It's hilarious now because when the Batman came out earlier this year, which I still think is fantastic, but when it came out, people were going, I'm getting a little tired of Batman. I'm like, dude, y'all remember how long this man's been done dirty for? I mean, there were great renditions of Batman, I think, all throughout cinema, but I think of the game side of things, and maybe it's because I lived alongside all of you, a slightly tortured experience where there was never that balance. But I just, I love that these superheroes are finally getting their due. So many people are quick to say they're tired of them, and maybe it's like me just getting close to my 30s now where, I'm starting to feel those types of things. Like, why are we so quick to slander Marvel? I'm clearly, I'm not a fan of what they're doing with She-Hulk. I'm just like, this is stupid. But like something such as Loki or WandaVision, I'm like, these deserve to exist. These are really good. I haven't, same thing what's happened with Star Wars. Like, people are just so quick to get tired of things and they're on to the new thing. And I'm thinking, we're finally seeing justice be done and support being given to these popular IP that were so questionably handled in like the early 2000s. But I digress. This is an old man shouting at a cloud in a Batman costume. Back on track, challenge maps. So you don't want to run around the semi-open world? You don't want any of that detective action? Okay, we got an answer for you. So you go into these maps and you can fight against a bunch of enemies and complete these challenges, whether it be like finishing X amount of enemies in X amount of time and so on and so forth. This was another thing that made the platinum pretty difficult to get, but it seems like Rocksteady was a bit onto something here by making Joker exclusive. Then when you go to like Arkham Knight, Arkham City, the skins they would sell, the new characters they would sell, Arkham Origins as well, to get you into the challenge maps and continuing to play them. It kind of became their slight monetization platform. It's really funny how that all turned out. But hey, as of the time of recording this, again, we don't know how Gotham Knights is going to go, but I'm rooting for that game. I really love the Batman universe, and I especially love its video games. So those are my thoughts on Arkham Asylum and why, yes, it really is that good, but I'm curious to hear your thoughts. Do you think it's that good? Please do fire away. Other than that, take great care of yourselves, and I will see you in the next Retro Rebound. Peace out.